The only thing louder than the roar of those fighter jets that day was the silence she carried. Let me back up a sec. You ever seen a room full of hotshot pilots all convinced they're the next best thing, only to have their pride shattered by someone they never even saw coming? That's exactly how it went down at Fort Hollowan, where sweat, jet fuel, and arrogance hung thick in the air. Nobody in that hangar expected Vance to be more than a faded name at the end of a clipboard, let alone the start of a legend that would haunt their dreams for years. Now, everyone saw the same thing at first. A woman whose best years looked long behind her, lines on her face etched from sun and wind, hair pulled back so tight it seemed she was daring the world to challenge her. Gray threaded through that braid, shoulders held in a way that spoke of burden, not bravado. A relic, they whispered, one more pencil pusher dragged out from behind a desk. Here, just to fill a quota. Yeah, that happened. But that's the thing about looking through the wrong end of a telescope. You miss the universe right in front of your face. Inside Hangar 4, the cool air was no match for the tension. All those lieutenants and captains, 20 years her junior, flight suits crisp, voices booming with the easy confidence of men who've never tasted real loss, sprawled across benches, swapping stories about dogfights they'd barely survived in a simulator, kill ratios, G-force blackouts. You know the drill. Vance just sat, quiet as a ghost, hands on her knees, back perfectly straight, eyes scanning every inch of steel and wire, listening, not just to them, but to the song of the machines. Then in strutted Master Sergeant Griggs, chest out, voice gravelly as a gravel road. "All right, ladies," he barked, letting his eyes settle on Vance like she was a smudge on the glass. "Welcome to the boneyard. Here's where we see if you remember which end of the stick makes the bird go up." Chuckles rippled around the room. "Don't get any ideas. We're not looking for heroes. Just try not to virtually crash a $200 million plane." He barely glanced her way, called her last on the list, told her to watch and learn. That's the story, right? You see who people are by how they treat the last name on the roster. She didn't mind. Sitting back, Vance watched the techs run diagnostics on the row of F-35 simulators, her eyes tracing the subtle dance of cables and flickering screens, remembering a language she hadn't spoken in years. She wasn't new to these birds, not really. She'd flown their ancestors in labs that didn't officially exist, scenarios meant to break anyone who thought themselves unbreakable. Lieutenant Reyes was first, handsome, jaw like a magazine ad, cocky in a way only youth allows. "Watch this, boys," he grinned, swaggering into his sim. The mission loaded, mountains at dusk, threats on all sides, surface-to-air missiles, enemy fighters, radar jammers. Reyes went at it hard, brute force and bravado, trusting in the plane's muscle, not subtlety. 90 seconds in, a missile lock alarm howled. "Eject! Eject! Eject!" The computer droned. Down he went. Reyes stormed out, cursing the system. Griggs only shook his head. "System's fine, son. Your situational awareness isn't." One by one, the pilots went in. One by one. They failed, each blaming the sim, the scenario, anything but themselves. Their cockiness wilted in the heat. Colonel Madsen, base commander, showed up, stern as a brick wall, took one look at the fail list and scowled. "Not a single pilot lasts more than 3 minutes," he growled. Griggs mumbled something about maximum threat, but Madsen only shook his head, eyes falling to the last name. "Vance, who is Vance?" The guy shrugged. "Just a logistics transfer, years behind a desk, nothing to see." Finally, Vance stood. She walked to her simulator, fluid, unhurried, and as she touched the machine, just a gentle sweep of her fingers, a young tech named Chun actually paused. He'd never seen a pilot greet a machine like that, almost like she was listening for a heartbeat. Griggs told her, "Just survive, that's it. Don't try to be a hero." She looked him dead in the eye. "I understand the objective." Her voice was low, but it pulled all the sound out of the room. Climbing in, she shut her eyes, hands finding the throttle and stick, letting the old music of hydraulics and fans fill her. Out there, she wasn't the tired officer. They called her Spectre, back in a different life, a name whispered in places you'd never find on a map. Memories flooded in, desert sand, bitter cold at altitude, the faces of teammates long gone. But she didn't dwell on the ghosts. She flew with them. On the screen, the scenario loaded. Dusk, mountain passes, hostiles everywhere. Instead of climbing high like the rest, she dove for the canyon floor, hugging the rock so close every observer flinched. She's gonna crash, someone whispered. But Chun, eyes wide, shook his head. She's mask flying, using the ground to blind their radar. She weaved through danger, silent, unseen. The F-35 an extension of her will, more scalpel than hammer. No fancy missile shots, no wasted moves. She closed to within 500 meters, gunned down the enemy, then melted back into shadow. Tango 1 down, she said, voice steady as coffee orders. Enemy fighters spun, hunting, but she was gone, back into the canyons, every movement measured, energy managed like it was gold. Sam sights, the same ones that killed every other pilot, couldn't find her until she popped out, dropped her payload, and pulled off maneuvers that shouldn't even be possible, flares and chaff released with surgical timing. The missiles lost lock, exploded harmlessly. All ground threats neutralized. She reported, 3 minutes in and not a scratch. But Griggs had set a final, no-win wave. 6 new enemy fighters, the checkmate built to break the best. The pilots groaned. Reyes muttered, "There's no way out of that." Vance did the unthinkable. She cut her engine, letting the plane glide in silence. The enemy, expecting speed, overshot, and she relit the turbine with a flick, now right in their 6. Missiles fired, red icons vanished. The last 2 tried to run, but she ended it fast, cold and precise. The sim ended. Mission score, 100%. Survivability, 100%. A perfect, impossible score. When the canopy hissed open, she stepped out as if she'd just taken a walk, face calm, breathing slow. The room was silent. No laughter, no jokes, just the echo of what they'd seen and couldn't believe. Madsen stepped forward, about to ask, "Who are you?" But before he could, a captain burst in, pale as a ghost. "Sir, there's a secure call for her." The White House Situation Room. "Yeah, that happened." The whole hangar stared as she took the call, calm as ever. "Vance here," she said. Then, after a pause, "Yes, Mr. President." Madsen went rigid, realizing the world had just shifted under his boots. She spoke quietly. "They're trying to activate Ghost Protocol. I designed it. The override code is Valkyrie's Dawn." "No, sir, they can't find the payload. Plasma shielded, quantum key. Tell General Marcus, Spectre is active." Madsen's mind reeled. Spectre was no protocol, but a legend, a Black Ops ghost, thought dead years ago. Now, she was standing right in front of him. She finished the call. "I'll be there in 3 hours." Placing the handset down, she turned, and the weariness was gone, replaced by a purpose so fierce it pulled everyone to attention. "Colonel, I need priority transport to Andrews. Wheels up in 10. Madsen, a man used to giving orders, snapped to it. "Yes, ma'am." Griggs, leaning on the simulator like he'd just survived a tornado, could only stare. She strode to the door, sunlight painting her silhouette, sleeves sliding back to reveal a black osprey tattoo. Spectre's mark, a single teardrop beneath the wing. Chun caught it, and would remember forever. Outside, a black Pave Hawk helicopter waited, dust swirling. She didn't look back, didn't say goodbye, just vanished into the blinding light, leaving a room full of men whose world would never be the same. The silence she left behind was different now, heavy with awe, humility, and maybe, just maybe, a little hope. Reyes finally whispered, "My God, we were fools." So I have to ask, how many times do we underestimate the quiet one in the room? How many ghosts are walking among us, their legends hidden behind tired eyes and steady hands? Drop your thoughts below, because maybe it's time we stopped measuring worth by noise and started listening to the silence.